We're back at the same hall, the same podium for the 16th time. We meet here every year. Last year at this time, we unfortunately had 369 families in the community that we were, Baruch Hashem, helping on a weekly and some on a daily basis. Pesach last year, we had almost 1,000 families. And after all, what's the difference between last year and this year? This year, at this moment, there are 436 families in the community that need our help on a weekly basis, and we predict for Pesach approximately 1,200 families. I'm not talking about including people in the 5 towns, Lakewood and Brooklyn. Just in Monsey, there are 66 more families of what we know of need our services this year that didn't need it last year. 66 families that just last year were able to afford to come to Tomche Shabbos dinner, able to give donations, and this year, are receiving donations. That's more than one family a week into these circumstances. And the situation is not getting any better. I would like to share with you the 3 most common requests and cries that Tomche Shabbos receives on a regular basis besides the request of food. Just so you can get a basic idea of what kind of help that we need. And I'm hoping that we as a team can think of ideas to ease the pain of Klal Yisrael and Monsey. But before, let me tell you a story of the Panovich Jeruf. The Panovich Jeruf was known as a great Bal Chesed. He was always involved in helping all of the young orphan children that had fled Europe. And one week he found out that a number of children would arrive without even a pillow to put under their heads at night. So he announced that that Shabbos afternoon, the Shabbos they were to arrive, he would give a Shmuz Menyuna de Yoime. They hung signs everywhere in Bnei Brak, on all the streets, in all the shuls, raising everyone's interest and curiosity about what is it that the Rav wants to speak about on a regular Shabbos afternoon, Menyuna de Yoime. That Shabbos, the shul packed with listeners. He started his speech by quoting the Rambam in Hilchos Avudim. The Rambam says that if you buy an Eved Ivri, a Yiddish servant, it's as if you bought a master to yourself, just like you bought a Udain. What does that mean? The Eved is the Eved, I'm the master. Why would somebody buy a master? So the Rambam says that it means that, for example, if you only have one pillow, you should not sleep on the pillow and make your Eved sleep on the pile of hay. Instead, you should sleep on the hay and let the Eved sleep on the pillow. And the Rambam says, if you don't give the Eved a pillow, it's called Midas Sodom, like the people of Sodom who treated their guests like animals. So in that way, the Eved is called a master. So the Panovich Jeruf asked one big question. Everybody knows Chayechu Kodman. You come first. If you have to save your life, you have to save somebody else's life. You come first. So why is it here that the Eved comes first? So Panovich Jeruf said, I think everybody will like this Chiddush. He said that if you don't give the Eved the pillow, then you won't be able to sleep. You're going to spend the whole night tossing and turning and thinking to yourself, how could I let someone else sleep on a pile of hay when I have a soft pillow? And if you're not going to get any sleep anyway, what's the point of the pillow? So in order that you should be able to sleep, because you do come first, chayechu kadmen, you have to give him the pillow, and that's why you can rest easier. Of course, he raised enough pillows. But the question is, do we feel the same way? It's very commendable that we all sacrifice our hard-earned money for others, but do we feel that if other people don't have the basic necessities of life, do we feel enough pain in ourselves that by helping them, we're helping ourselves even more? Let me tell you, it's hard to sleep when you hear what's going on in our own community on a daily basis. The common request number one, I can guarantee you right now, at this moment, just in Monsey, there are at least 10 families sitting in the dark. They put the children to sleep by candlelight. They promise the children that tomorrow will be better. And then the husband and wife, the president and the vice president of the family, sit down at the table, try to figure out how they're going to find the money for Shabbos of Rockland, and how they can make sure that they can at least keep the electricity and the heat. But they don't say anything to other people. They're ashamed. Once we had someone's neighbor come and tell us that she heard a loud scream of cry coming from the next door one night, when the family found that after not having electricity for a few days, the freezer was already dripping, everything was thawed, and the food they could barely afford was ruined. That's how we got the call. Sometimes the family do come forward. Sometimes after deliberating for days, the husband and wife decide they have no choice but to turn to Tomche Shabbos for assistance. We try to raise the money to help them with their utilities, but Rabbi, I must confess that the demand has become greater and greater, and lately we cannot come up with the money for everyone who needs it. We need help with that. Common request number two. The Gemara Moed Kuten brings down that there was a time when people used to have fancy, expensive burials, so much that it became commonplace. This is how you bury someone. There were those that unfortunately could not keep up with the standards. Their friend was able to afford nice tachrichim, and they could not. So often, instead of making a funeral, making a levaya, they would just leave the neftorim laying around because they couldn't afford a proper burial. So the Chachamim instituted guidelines and said that everyone, regardless of income, should use only cheap tachrichim, and that should become the norm. That's when it's a disaster. What happens when parents are dreading their own children getting engaged, because they can't afford to make a chasana? What happens when even a simcha becomes viewed as a disaster that they're not prepared for? Even a simple chasana is very expensive nowadays, and if they can't afford that, the last thing they want is to go through the embarrassment of everyone knowing that they can't afford it. Someone once told me, my child's engagement is a tragedy. A few years ago, when I went to Eretz Yisrael, I spent one night going to a chasanas. It's a chasana night. I went from wedding hall to wedding hall, asking information about making a chasana. On average, it costs between $14 and $16 per person, the hall included. That's with chatzilim. There has to be a way that we can work to bring down the price over here, where even an expensive wedding would have a reasonable limit. There are those that came up with an idea to have a beautiful hall built from the nations, suitable for rich and poor, so that the Baal Simcha have to pay for the actual wedding and nothing else. If we can minimize the cost, then maybe parents will be able to actually look at the child's wedding as a simcha and be able to enjoy it as such. The third common request is at least twice a week, and I'm not exaggerating, I will receive a call from a family asking if I can help them find a basement or a warehouse. And I would ask, what purpose? What do you need it for? And they would answer they're being evicted, or their home is being foreclosed, or they haven't paid their landlord for several months, and if I don't find them something on the spot, they will be out on the street. And quote, they don't care if it is an unfinished basement or even a bare warehouse where they can keep the possessions and just put the children to sleep. And on top of that, they would need it to be for free, because there's no way they can afford the rent anymore. All of these problems are in all parts of our community, no exemptions, and from all the denominations of Yidden: Hasidish, Litvish, Yeshivish, Foshay, Wesley Hills, New Hempstead, Concord, Spring Valley. And it's not just about food anymore. It's about helping people with all the necessities of life. The cost of living has become sky high. It's impossible for a lot of people to keep up. When a child cannot keep up in school, we try to help him in whatever way we can until he gets back on his feet and catches up to the rest of the class. But what happens when the entire family who can't keep up monetarily, what happens with that family? Can we help them? Not always. Rabbi Say, Klal Yisrael Emonsi needs our help. Thank you.